we're not going to live in a cookie cutter neighborhood. We're not buying a house out here in Downs. We're going to move down to the city. He's from Chicago. And we saw some houses available and absolutely fell in love with the house that we purchased. And then fell in love with the community and the people that live in it. And so within a year, we had joined Westend Neighbors, the association, and we were working with neighbors like Trina on different initiatives. And I knew, really, it didn't take a lot of time before I knew that this was a place that I wanted to dig my roots in and raise my children in and be a part of the amazing things that were happening in the community. So I am the ED, the Executive Director of Heart Community Corps, and it's a family support agency, and the core of what we do is work with families, and specifically right now, one of our biggest programs is a youth program. We run an after-school program and a summer camp at KIPP Elementary School, right in the middle of the neighborhood. Another really big thing that's important for me is connecting the school, the stakeholders in the neighborhood, but connecting families and kids who live in the neighborhood to the schools and the different resources that are in the neighborhood. So I am more than honored to be able to support Cornerstone, support the Westend, support my neighbors, acting as the interim ED for Cornerstone during Miss Kiara's maternity leave. She has some big shoes to try to fill, like not big literally, she has big feet, but to try to make sure that the momentum, that the train is moving at the same speed while she's supporting and she's bonding with that little baby. God bless.
Thank you very much. So this time we just really want to get a chance to hear from our other neighbors as well in terms of what's been your lived experience. What's been your experience living in the Westend neighborhood? So I am just going to electricity down in the house.
Well, to the young lady who has been working on my house, she will know she has turned the corner when she fixes one thing and only two breaks. I guess, like 20 years. We moved here from Columbus, Ohio, and my wife is the one that actually found the house that we lived in the community. To be honest with you, I was really comfortable in the Central West End, and I did not want to engage in any more construction. But I fell in love with the area, the proximity to downtown, the neighbors, and the architectural character is really the one that really stuck with me. Windermere is a unique place. Our neighbors, you can't beat having those two potluck dinners, one in the fall and one in the spring, which we haven't been able to have for the last 2 years because we've been dealing with the chicken and the compost odor. But the experience, the love, the opera, the summer opera here at this church where you can actually walk to it. The history with Pilgrim Congregation, I mean, this is a living history book. You can't know any more, need to know any more about St. Louis than this place. And the people have simply been beautiful. The weather in St. Louis is really compared to Ohio. It's really nice. The culture of St. Louis and the whole idea of African American history in St. Louis and this area is really one that's to the people really learn to love and we have as well. So I just love the area.
Today, first and foremost, remember last time, the whole circus came to town. This time, you are the one who's committed. Not to say those that are not here committed, but we don't have all the other people here. So today, as you all heard Lisa talk about, adopting our lifestyle. I'm not going to hard on you, but I want us to learn from this. A lot of you all may not know through the various different developments that have come through our neighborhood in the last 20 years. And in the last 20 years, they tell us every one of these projects are going to help revitalize our whole neighborhood. And that talks to why we're here today and moving forward in the next 18 months. So we don't have a whole bunch of scattered people coming in and say they're going to do X, Y, Z, promising us what they're going to bring us. This gives us an opportunity to bring what we want to bring, create what we want to create, and see what we want to see. As you all can see this, as they said, you heard from Rise, you heard from Ms. Anderson, you heard from everyone that's come up here, that we want to see change. And I ask you all, challenge you all to think, like when the rest of the people come in our neighborhood and we say, they ask us, what do we want? We say we want what's on the other side of Skinker. I would like for you all to envision what that is. Take pictures of that and bring it to these meetings so we can show an example of the quality of housing, buildings, and everything else, so we can have an example of what we want to go for. Because historically, we did this some years ago, and they gave us what they thought was affordable, because they were coming out with some different pockets of money that creates affordable housing, mixed use. And Invest STL, in its name, says invest. And that doesn't mean just invest in the soil, the building. That means invest in us and helping us understand what it is that we want to come out of this plan. So, in closing, I wish you all, and I hope we go through this ring that's told me that we possibly could be, that we all learn together what racial equity is and what equitable development is all about. And if you all don't know what that is, it's about us winning. Everyone in this room, because we all have suffered through redlining and some other more horrendous things that have stopped this investment in our neighborhoods. So now is the time and a chance to push the envelope, excuse me for that large wild spit. But how can we take this as an imagination of, we have an unlimited amount of money to help do whatever it is that we want in our neighborhood is endless, but also keep in mind that we must protect the babies, the elders, and those who don't have the same needs as us as we go through this process. So that's all I want to share with y'all next week. I hope I didn't talk too long. And I can't say one thing I like about y'all. I love y'all. I do. I know I get a little pissed off and stuff, but I've lived here for the last 40 years, and people been selling us dreams. I'm tired of getting sold dreams because we live nightmares in the form of bullet cases, drug addicts doing things. They need help. And, in silence. Let's put an end to that in a collective way where we can wrap our arms. I heard Kara say this. How we wrap our arms around each other, even the ones we don't know. Because we all live here together and kids get on the same bus stops. Let's go across on the other side to the same rock and get dropped on. Not being fun. But thank you.
Hello. My name is Elaine. I live in the 5500 block of Mayburn. I am the third generation in that home. I also own another family home in the 5100 block of Cabot. What I would like to see is the neighborhood that was here as I grew up. In my block, there was a long time where I was the only person there under 60. The same people who made sure my children got into the house safely are still my neighbors. But they're 80 and 90 now, and they look to me. I don't want to see the same meeting that I went to with my grandfather about cabinet courts. I don't want anybody coming to me and lying straight in my face, and I know that they're lying. I still walk my neighborhoods. I got married when Westend Mount Carmel was on Broadway, and I walked there. I went to Union Memorial. I was raised as a Methodist, and I walked there for the youth meetings. That's the neighborhood. I had 4 children. I only have one at home. now. And I try to raise my kids to be accepting, because it's not going to be just black people to profit if we're in a community. It's going to be everybody. I grew up, in my grandfather's house. I had a bedroom there, had a bedroom in my other grandfather's house, but I graduated in '78 from U City when it was racially mixed, and I loved it. I love the fact that I can ride my bike from U City to see my grandparents. That's the community I like us to see, and I don't think that we will have it if we're not treated honestly. So right now, with Cornerstone and Invest St. Louis, I have a wait and see attitude. I feel that people can open their mouth to say anything, but actions, they speak a lot louder, stronger, and they last longer. I also feel that it takes a while to earn someone's respect. It takes a while to be able to depend on someone, but it takes a minute to destroy that. So I'm hopeful that this group does what they say. That's what I'm hopeful on. And, but honestly, I'm waiting to see. Okay, thank you. Cornerstone was someone who was, there's 2 cars in my driveway, someone took a picture of my house, and when I approached him, he really tried to dismiss me. I'm not a dismissive type of person. And so when I called my alderwoman, he was really surprised. I do take responsibility because when I was a kid, my neighbors who were still there looked out for me, so I'm kind of looking out for them. But I just want to say that if you have any questions, and I think if anything is in your neighborhood, I think you should be able to call your alder, man or woman, and I'm thankful that the 26th ward can. Thank you.
I helped work for a not-for-profit church-based organization in London for a number of years that was buying and rehabbing housing for low-income families. And it was funded by local government because the only options in London were either public housing, government housing, or condos. And the local governments wanted to sustain local rental housing that weren't controlled by being converted to condos. And in 1975, I arrived in St. Louis, the Grace and Peace Fellowship, which was then at Kingsbury and DePere, and we decided to form a not-for-profit housing corporation to try to stabilize and provide rental housing in Skinkard of Bolivar as the gentrification was going on. We wanted to preserve affordable housing as many black families who were being kicked out of their apartments in Skinkard of Bolivar simply because they were black, they were poor, and they had kids. And so we, Cornerstone, still owns 2 buildings in Skinkard of Bolivar that is we're the only landlord still renting to low-income families in Skinkard of Bolivar. Laverna Meyer is here, and Amy Kennedy are here. They were both early board members. And when the developers came into Skinkard of Bolivar and we could no longer acquire property in the neighborhood, we saw fit, after I'd already moved onto Etzel, to start acquiring property on Etzel. It was a time when virtually all of the apartment buildings on Etzel were vacant, vandalized shells. And we as board members had to sign our own personal guarantees for loans that if Cornerstone would go bankrupt on any of our buildings, we would have to put our own personal money in to keep the organization afloat. By the grace of God, we were able to continue to expand over the years and to gradually expand. In the early 90s, when we had a lot of gang activity on Etzel, we had drive-by shootings, we had murders on Etzel, and we had turnover in tenants rapidly. We had to sell property in Skinker Bolivar just to stay financially afloat, to keep the buildings on Etzel that we have worked on and have maintained for all these years. My wife had a kids club at our house every week for the kids on the street. And we impacted many of the families. And there was an article after there was a shooting on Podemont at the apartment buildings. There was a gun battle on Podemont, and a girl, 6-year-old girl in the apartments across the street was killed in the parking lot by one of the stray bullets. My wife, when the Post-Dispatch said this is a terrible neighborhood, my wife phoned Post-Dispatch and said, no, it's not a terrible neighborhood. We have many problems in this neighborhood, but there are many good things going here. And the Post-Dispatch actually did a story on my wife's kids club entitled Planting Seeds of Hope. And that was our goal in trying to impact the neighborhood, to make the kids see that there were other options than being drug dealers in the neighborhood. As many of you know, it was in the 50s and 60s where there was white flight, and in the 70s and 80s there was significant black flight from this neighborhood. And there were many people who said, who were living in the area, their neighbors were telling them, get out to the suburbs. It's too rough a neighborhood. You don't have to put up with the issues here. But there were many of us who did persevere and work to stabilize and improve the neighborhood, and to deal with the drug dealers, to deal with the gang actually came and threatened my wife and I to get out of the neighborhood. And my wife then went to the 3 mothers we knew of the gang members and told them that their sons were threatening us to tell us to get out of the neighborhood. And the mothers told their son, Julie, Gordon, and Helen, you're more good for this neighborhood than anybody. You don't get in trouble. And we had no more trouble after that. But my wife didn't stop there. She took one of the young men and helped him get a job working in a kitchen in a retirement community. She took one of the other young men and got him into a job training program to learn how to become a carpenter. And so it wasn't just feeling threatened and wanting to run away, but how do we impact and change the lives of people living there? And so it was just very hard then when my wife died of cancer at age 51. And it has been very painful with that. But Cornerstone has survived. We've continued to improve. And we focused on Etzel because in the 1980s, it was a 2-way street. It was the only way into the neighborhood between Del Mar and Page. And so we were having traffic going up and down the streets. And we said, if we can renovate some houses here, we can give hope to the neighborhood that as people drive up and down the street, they will see progress and not want to run away, not move to the suburbs. They will see it's worth investing in houses in this neighborhood. And so that was then. By the grace of God, New City Fellowship came, and they built on some of the work that my wife and I had done. After my wife died of cancer, it was hard without her. But the neighborhood has dramatically changed, and it was after the Slaco got the Etzel Place apartments built. There was was a battle there, because they were designing the apartments just to look like public housing, just lining the street. And I said, no, we need to have offsets, need to have play spaces for the kids. If you're gonna be creating 3-bedroom apartments, you need to have play space for kids to get outside their houses. And so we had many battles back in the 90s with Etzel Place as to what was being built and how it was being built and what the space would be. But it takes an ongoing battle. So I've been in the neighborhood for 40 years. It's been a long, hard struggle, but by the grace of God, things are coming together. But it's also been that we have not had a community development corporation. We have not had people working together for the entire good of neighborhood. We have had many developers who come in and say, I want to build houses on this block, applied for a grant, got CDA money, and built houses on that one block. And then somebody else would say, well, I want to do something else here. And somebody else would say, I want to do something else there. This is our first opportunity that we as a neighborhood are coming together to do planning, to try to tell the city what we want for our neighborhood. Do we want more apartments? Do we want more single-family housing? What size single-family houses do we want? Do we want more commercial property in the neighborhood, or do we want less commercial property in the neighborhood? This is our opportunity to say, back in the 20s, much of Hamilton had small grocery stores, barber shops, various neighborhood businesses. They've all been torn down. There's not one commercial building left on Hamilton. We have the B&B on Goodfellow. We have the other small business up at Etzel and Goodfellow. But essentially, when this neighborhood was developed, they had churches on Union and churches and schools on Page. Well, churches and schools on both. So the two boundaries on Union and Page were limited essentially to schools and churches. It was Del Mar, Kings Highway, Martin Luther King that had the commercial buildings. There are commercial buildings by the railroad tracks at the west end of the neighborhood. But we at this neighborhood level now have the opportunity to do the planning that's necessary to say, yes, we want more commercial. No, we don't want commercial. We don't want, we just want residential in the middle of the neighborhood. And this is what this planning process is about, to shape the future. Who we want, what do we want? So this is what we're going to be talking about for the next 18 months. And Laverna and Amy, who are here, were early board members, and they too were people who put their own houses, their own finances on the line as a guarantee when this neighborhood was being redlined, that they would guarantee their own finances to be able to get cornerstone rehabbing housing in this neighborhood to preserve affordable housing for people who need it. So that's been my experience, so thank you.
Just for a couple of weeks after we moved in, one of our dogs had escaped, and we had really hadn't met very many people. I particularly remember Tony and Larry introducing themselves. They probably live right across the street from them. But anyway, our dog escaped, and people in the neighborhood, you know, we were looking for him. We didn't know anybody, very many people. People coming out, I saw him there. What's your dog look like? Are we going to help, etc. This has been the friendliest neighborhood I have ever lived in. So we very much like it. It's coming back. On our particular block, we figure out of about 50 houses, 10 of them at that time were, abandoned, unoccupied. I think we've only got 3 now, so we're just working on that. This neighborhood is coming together. This certainly is one of the big evidence of that. So the foundation has been laid for a resurgence, a renaissance in the West End. When I tell people I live elsewhere, I live in the West End, they say, oh yeah, I love those restaurants and shops on here. And so I always have to tell them, no, that's the central West End. I live in the real West End. The place where people can really live, where you've got neighbors. Not to put down the central West End, but I got to look too. So anyway, we've got a foundation. One particular thing that I'm doing, along with Gordon, who just spoke, Walter Bonner, and Sherry Bailey from the Academy neighborhood, is we've got a small grant. We've got the Missouri Humanities Council was giving money for neighborhood histories. So I heard that. I used to be represent West End neighbors on SLACO's board. So I heard about it through SLACO. Gordon and I, and Walter from the West End, and then Sherry from the Academy, we put together an application. The people said, well, why don't you expand it a little bit? Because we're, we can't just be the West End. We have to work with the other neighborhoods. The old Academy neighborhood, it goes from Kings Highway down Martin to the city limits, basically Stinker, then Martin Luther King back to the Kings Highway. So that's 4 neighborhoods: Academy, Visitation Park, West End, and then Hamilton Heights. So we got, they liked our application so much. They were going to give out 2, but they liked ours so much. They said, well, we're just going to give you one name. Well, basically, we're 4 neighborhoods. We're going to give you 2. I asked, okay, give us 4 money for 4, but then they always got to ask for more. Okay, they can always tell you no. So anyway, we're doing a neighborhood history, getting our act together this summer. If you've lived in the neighborhood, start trying to do oral history with people who have lived in the neighborhood for, say, 30 years. Because we want to do that, and we'll work that down. This would be a matter of an interview. But we're also doing other things, like you've got photos, when you party, family gathering. Sherry Bailey was talking about the old Cat's drugstore at the corner of Union and Delmar, which she went to for ice cream when she was a kid. We want to know that stuff, but also about the famous things, famous people. That in our neighborhood, we need to realize we've got 4 parks named after people that were really active in the civil rights movement. And I don't want kids to grow up in the West End or Hamilton Heights and Academy not to know who Glenn Giles was, Ruth Porter, Marie Fowler, and then Ivory Perry. Kids need to know that, okay? We're part of what we want to do is come up with something to help the neighborhood teachers and teach our kids about this, so they can say, in 1910 on Kate's, the women's suffrage movement to give women the right to vote, it had kind of died down, and in St. Louis it started again in 1910 by the Richardson family. Okay, 80 women gathered, and that started the civil rights movement. Also, the younger daughter in that family married Ernest Hemingway. So Ernest Hemingway walked our streets, get for a visit. Things like that a teacher can use to, invigorate their teachings. And the Ernest Hemingway say in the class, they'll say, hey, he walked the same streets I did, okay? There was a sit-down, anti-busing segregation sit-down at the old Dozier School at Maple and Goodfellow. Tell them about that. So we're working on that. If you want to see me afterwards, I've got to put my sign-in sheets. Or talk to Gordon. I'm happy to take down your information. We've got to get ourselves a bit organized. This fall, we'll start to do some interviews. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
I got a prize for you when we're
of life and to health. It was based on an article I read that came out in 1912. The article is based on every major civilization that's built around sports. So if you all want to look at one thing that can actually help the community is Ivory Park, getting that redone. So in the community, we have major events there. I think that can be something very positive that we actually can do and make that kind of a hub in which we can actually fellowship, have good times, kickball, soccer, things of that nature. And I think that would be a great tool for communicating with each other in the community. It's on Delmar, 5459 Delmar Boulevard. It's I do one-on-one personal training. It's on the corner of apartment complex, right across the street from the nursery.
Someone else. Okay? That's my word for the night. And thank you very much for listening.
I'm going to pass the microphone over to Lisa so she can sort of wrap up and share next steps. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, so I kind of did that a little earlier, but just to reiterate, you guys have your flyer for the next community meeting, and it is
businesses that we have in our neighborhood. Tamika and I was already familiar with yours, we're hearing about the gym and anything else. I think that's really important. That's, like I said, one of my own personal reasons for being on the steering committee is because I think when I compare us to Shaw and other neighborhoods having those community-based businesses, so if there's anybody else who has anything, and really quickly, I would love to hear about any more possibly neighborhood businesses that we have, how we can support each other, and continue to grow and do better. That's it.
To be neighbors tonight and to be together under this roof. So we love you and we'll see you next time.
They've actually committed to hosting our future meetings, so we'll have our public meetings here this weekend. So thank you all. Enjoy your evening, and we will see you on August 20th.